Hi, welcome to YouTube. Welcome to my show. The show is called Living with Anxiety and Depression and Addiction. And this morning I have my good friend Sheldon Francis with me. How are you doing, Sheldon? Good
I'm
morning.
doing good,
to
brother
have you
Lloyd.
here.
Thank you so much for bringing me on your show
We've been looking
and being the
forward.
first guest.
We've been looking forward to having this show for a long time.
Yes.
And we're finally going to do it today.
We're
I
gonna
know a
do
lot
it,
of people
brother.
are waiting for it. I'm waiting for it. You're waiting for it. Our friends were waiting for it, and I'm sure the world's waiting for it. And we're going to have that done today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I just want to ask you, Sheldon, can you describe to our audience what your life was like before your active addiction?
Man, my brother, where do I start, Lloyd? So I grew up in an area called Flemington Park at Domus and Eglinton. I grew up in a single parent home. My mom is from a small town called Clarendon in Jamaica, and we lived there for until I was about 7 years old, and I went to a Grenoble public school, and me and my mom were like best friends at that time, and that area wasn't the greatest because a couple of doors down where we were living, a neighbor killed his girlfriend, and then I just remember my mom always telling me to stay away from the community center because that's where all the drug dealers were hanging out. And also, I remember on my lunch break when I was actually going to Grenoble Public School, I saw a kid fall off his balcony. And these things were actually things I didn't understand. It wasn't traumatizing because I just didn't understand because I was just so young. And then I remember at 8 years old, we moved from there because my mom had enough of that area. And we actually moved to a building not too far from Furthur Mall. And when we moved there, my mom, it wasn't government housing anymore, so my mom had to get two jobs at the time. So my mom needed that extra help. So my mom actually sent for my uncle to come down and help out. And when he came down, he brought his wife. And I just remember just not being able to be a kid again because my uncle's wife was physically and mentally abusive to me. I remember coming home, from school. All I wanted to do was just, watch Transformers, G.I. Joe, just even like 1 hour of TV. But she wouldn't allow me to because she wanted to watch Young and Restless, and my uncle wanted to watch the news at 6. So literally, I did not have no TV time at all as a young kid. I just go outside and play, and sometimes lock up myself in a room. And my mom would usually come home around 9 o'clock at night after working two jobs. And so I remember my mom was actually gonna buy a house with my uncle and his wife. So we went to view the house, and again, like I don't know what was up with my uncle's wife. She just did not like me, and I remember I was in one of the rooms of the house, and there was a metal object on the floor, and I picked up the metal object, and I was just playing around with my uncle's wife at that time, and I was 8 years old, and for some reason she just got pissed off, and she grabbed me by my throat, and she slashed me with the metal object across my hand, cutting my pinky, and my pinky was dangling from my hand. And I was 8 years old. I collapsed, and then my mom ran into the room, and she just went ballistic. And I just remember.
So it sounds like you didn't have a very good start to
No,
begin with.
not a very good start at all, my brother. So had to go to the hospital. I ended up doing two surgeries. So obviously my mom didn't buy the house with them anymore. Yeah. So we moved, and my mom met my stepfather, and then they got married, and they bought a house in a town called Markham, just north of the city.
Yeah.
And when we moved there, I just remember like things started to turn around. Like I started to get back my innocence. I remember just meeting all the neighborhood kids playing ball hockey. I remember running home telling my mom, you know, I want to play ice hockey. And I remember she signed me up for ice hockey. I remember just, you know, going to piano lessons. And I just remember skateboarding with my friends and just hanging out and just having fun and just being a kid, you know, and just living life on life terms. And yeah, and then things turn, excuse me, things turn for the worse. Again, I didn't realize that my stepfather was an alcoholic until he became, you know, physically and mentally abusive to me and my mom.
Yeah.
And I just remember at 12, 13 years old, I would run away from home. And the police would have to, you know, go out there and look for me. There were times where I'll be gone for weeks and they wouldn't know where I was. I'll be downtown, hanging on the streets, sleeping on park benches. Sometimes I would meet a friend, sleep at their house, and eventually the cops will find me, bring me back home. And, you know, like I did not like my stepfather at all. And, you know, there was a point when I turned 16 when he really got violent, and he nearly stabbed my mom one night. And that's when I actually attacked him and I had to put a stop to it. And he pushed me out the way and he called the cops. And then when the cops came, they ended up arresting him because they saw all the blood on the floor and the blood on my mom's face. And they ended up arresting him. And then my mom got divorced. And then at that time, when my mom got divorced, I was just a lost child.
Oh wow! So things didn't start off well, and it seems to have spiraled at that time.
But don't get me wrong, man. There are pockets of good moments, and my mom is like my superhero, you know, because she never gave up. All she wanted was just to have a good life for me, you know. That's all she wanted. And I have a brother from my stepfather who's 12 years younger than me, and you know, he never ever did these things to his own son. So it's sad that my mom married this guy and she married him so you know, I could have a father in my life, and yeah, he didn't care.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Sheldon, for that descriptive context of your life. And yeah, it's you know, I myself had you know, a childhood similar to that, but you know, that's maybe you can interview me at another time, and we'll get to that.
No
So thank you very much for telling us
about
thank you, brother, about that. And we'll take a commercial, and we'll be right back. Thank you.